Hello, everybody. Weebrabbitgaming here, and welcome back to the Otaku Overload Podcast, episode 17. We are back this week with a few different things, even though maybe the things aren't as exciting, nothing cutting edge, nothing super new, but at least it's very different. It's very different. It's very varied. So I think that should maybe make it interesting, But yeah, we are back, and you'll see what I mean in a moment. And we are going to just dive right into it, I believe. So Legend Jonathan is here. I believe he's ready to share his week. How you doing, my dude?
Yo, what's up, guys? I'm doing good. Just trying to trying to finish up like the finals because it's like the end of the quarter. So that's what I've been just trying to do. And yeah, I'm here. I'm excited to tell you guys about my week.
Okay, then go ahead.
So basically the first thing I did was it was Urusei Yatsura, I'll admit, but it's different. I want to talk about something different. I did watch the new episode, but I want to get to something that's more important, especially because I hate the characters that got introduced anyways. They on like the end of February, they announced out of nowhere that there was going to be an English dub for Urusei Yatsura, the remake. And it was just completely out of the blue. They just did it out of nowhere. There was no trailers. There was nothing. It was just a news article that, yeah, there would be an English dub of the first episode. And from there, they would just keep dubbing each episode. So I watched that when it came out. And I'll admit, it was pretty good. I liked it. It fit everything. Like, all the characters didn't sound annoying. None of them had like a very crappy voice where it's like one character's really high pitched and the other one's really deep. Like, everyone sounded the way you would expect them to actually sound. So for example, Ataru, he just has like a regular teenager's voice. She doesn't have like that high pitched voice like in the Japanese or like the older English dubs that didn't really do well, where it's like a high pitched voice. Here she sounds just like a regular teenager as well. She has like a regular voice. Cherry, he sounds the way I expected him to. Like, I was super happy that they got the voice perfectly right. He sounds like what I would expect him to sound in the English dub. Like, just like some city old dude, just hanging out. They got the voice perfect. Ataru's mom literally just sounds like Ataru's mom. And then what's cool is that like Lum's dad, they gave him like that Bowser type voice where he has like that like ah ha ha like that voice. They gave him that. So it was really good. It was like on point. And I watched it, I loved it. Obviously I'm not gonna make it sound, oh my god, it's like the best thing either. But it was definitely a pretty good dub though, I'll admit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to jump in, since I think you basically described everything that I would have said, but just to reiterate, I also watched the dub. Like you said, it was really interesting because if you remember when this first started, somewhere around near the beginning, I even asked, something about the dub. I asked you, remember? You're like, there is no dub. I'm like, oh, there's not, and there's no plan for there to be a dub either, which is kind of crazy. And I had always said that I thought that was weird because these days, anything that is even remotely successful that people will watch, they will make a dub for it. Like maybe
Yeah.
10 years ago, I could see an anime not having a dub. But these days, with how popular anime is and how they're always trying to push out more content, on like Crunchyroll and High Dive and any
Hmm.
of these other sites, whatever, it doesn't really matter. But the point, you know what I mean? They're always trying to make dubs. And some of them, it's crazy because it's announced almost right away. Like it'll be like, oh yeah, like this third, fourth season of, Kaguya-sama got announced. And we reached like, I don't know, like episode 4. And then like, oh, the dub will start next week. And it's only like a few episodes behind.
Hmm.
So I thought it was so weird that I'm like, this is such a big project. It's based on a very popular series. I mean, it is so weird that there's no dub. And then, like you said, it was so crazy because I remember you're the one who like told me we're talking about it together. Out of nowhere, like near the end of February, it's like, oh yeah. Starting like like a week from now, maybe even less like a week, there's gonna be a dub starting for episode 1. And it's like, what? That's it? And it was like so under the radar. It was so weird.
Yeah, it was like really surprising. And if I remember correctly, they literally announced they would be coming out like 2 days now. I'm remembering.
Yeah,
Like it was
it
really
was something really crazy. Yeah, it was
like it's like
like
it was that quick. It was like, dude, like okay, it was
like
kind
did
of
you guys
random.
not know it was happening? Like how is it so last minute you guys are announcing it? It was like really weird.
And then I remember like on Instagram, all the voice actors they were posting that they were happy to finally be voicing the characters, and that would just be spamming through my like feed, but
Hmm.
it looks so random because I'm like, who are these people? Like, why this sudden? Like why this sudden that they were able to just like randomly like push it out, and they didn't announce it like a week or two behind. It was like it was just so sudden. Like it was like, oh yeah, 2 days from now, there's gonna be a dub now. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh, and the other thing that goes with that we were talking about before we started, that we were kind of trying to be like, okay, what's some of the information for the people who are going to be, doing the dub? Because like I said, once again, when you hear a lot of these projects, like, oh, for this dub, they're going to use, Christina Valenzuela, also known as Christina V, who like played Shantae, and she's done all sorts of like bunch of voices, or they're going to use Kyle McCarley, who's the guy who, he played Nine Ass. And for like the first, I think like 2 seasons, I forget how many seasons of my Mob Psycho are. I think there's 3. So for like the first 2 seasons, he played Mob, for instance. And like, just there's a lot of like voice actors that are really
Mhm.
well known and they have like a lot of projects under their belt. And so you would think of for something this big, once again, it's like, oh, like who do they pick to do like the dub? And you look up the people and they have like almost like no credits. Like the girl that's doing Lum, for instance, it took us a while to even find her because it wasn't like really like that well listed. And then it's like, oh, the other thing she's really well known for before this is that she also did the dub of
Call of the Night.
Call of the Night, which is the anime. I think I've mentioned it on this podcast, the one about the kid that he meets like this vampire girl, and she kind of hangs out with her at night because he has insomnia, and she kind of teaches him about like the nightlife and stuff. Yeah, she voices that character, like that main vampire girl. And I think like basically like her other like really big role. And besides that, it's like, oh yeah, she also did like a couple minor roles, and that's it. It's like, wow, like such a really, really new voice actor, and they chose her to do Lum. Like that's kind of interesting, you know?
Probably because they knew that it would be like the equivalent of kind of like would say like for example, I know for example when it came to like the original Funimation dub of Dragon Ball, none of those voice actors, I think that was like their first like major role in anime or something like that. It would be like something like that. Probably that's probably why they did it, because it
Yeah, I
would
mean,
probably be like
I
it's like
guess
some.
so. It might be because yeah, it's by Sentai Filmworks or whatever is the one doing the
Mhm.
dub. I think that's supposed to be like a newer studio. I don't doesn't sound familiar to me like
Yeah.
some of these other studios. So maybe that's why, yeah.
Yeah, so they're like, okay, this is a famous yet underrated, because it is true. Not that many people, I don't know that many people who know about the series. They're like, yeah, like, okay, this is a popular series. We're trying to make it more popular. And then obviously they're making a dub. So it's like, what are we supposed to do? It's like, well, we could get popular like voice actors and they could probably do a great job, but it's best that we just like get like newer voice actors so that they get this more like spotlight, I guess you could say. So if like let's say the lady, her name is Jade Kelly, um, yeah, like literally if she's great at this slum voice, she might be well known as Lum. And so, like, literally, when you look her up, it could literally say, hey, she's also known as Lum, for example, and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And
for reals,
so,
yeah.
so they're probably doing something like that. And then, yeah, it was just pretty interesting that most of those voice actors, like maybe like one, but then like I forgot his name. I think like I only recognized one, and then that was it. Like, it was like one voice actor that I recognized them, and then I was like, oh, but everyone else I like forgot.
Yeah, it's crazy. But
Hmm.
regardless, like I said, we both saw it. We thought it was pretty good. Nothing like super like blew me out of the water. But then again, it was only the first episode, so whatever. But I
Hmm.
just thought it's like, hey, for what it was, it seemed pretty good. I enjoyed it. All the voices seemed to fit. I don't know, it was just fun watching it in English. It felt like they did a good job, and that's kind of
Hmm.
it. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, because yeah, there really isn't nothing to say because it really is just it was the first episode. But yeah, they did a good job, and if somehow they come across this, I would say that keep the good work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Hmm. Other than Urusei, because I watched the new episode, but I just hate freaking the new characters. I don't want to talk about them. I read finally because I have like the third volume. I had gotten for my birthday the first and second volume of Kingdom Hearts the manga
Oh,
by
nice.
Shiro Amano. I read it and oh my god, is it pretty good? And I love how freaking they did was the dialogue is different in some parts, but yet it's not. Like it's super like it tries to be so accurate to the freaking manga. I mean to the freaking game. So like there's a part where the part when they meet Sora and then Goofy even asks Donald, like, are you sure that we can help him find his friends or whatever? It's literally almost word by word what Donald and Goofy say from the game. Like
Oh,
literally
that's
word by
cool.
yeah, like the only difference is that he says, instead of are you sure you can help we can help him find his friends, Goofy only says, are we sure? And then after that, you see Donald, he's like, I don't know, but we do have to take him so he can help us find the king. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. They kept it accurate. And then what's cool too is that when Sora, Donald, and Goofy they're fighting Heartless and stuff, it shows them interacting with each other. And then obviously Sora gives more in depth about like his character, like him growing up and stuff, because he's fighting the Heartless on Destiny Islands, and I have it out right now to like remember. He even says, "Take this, don't mess with me. I've been sword fighting with Riku for ages." So
That's kind
it's
of
cool because
fun. That's a fun
yeah,
little detail. Yeah.
and then when he's fighting against the dark side, he's getting all nervous. And fun fact, this is actually the first time he fights dark side because in the manga they skipped the dive into the heart immediately. Like that didn't even happen.
Oh, okay. It makes sense because it's more of like a tutorial thing.
Hmm.
So, it's to get used to the controls. So if you're gonna adapt the story, it makes sense that they might skip that, maybe. Okay.
Yeah, so he's like, this is the first time he ever meets Darkseid, meaning that when he was asleep, he didn't have the dream or anything. Um, he's like, "Aren't you a little too big? What should I do?" And then he remembers a quote from an actual person. When you encounter a giant enemy, aim for the eye. No one can train one's eyes. Excerpt from Battle with the Bengal Tiger, written by boxer Shiharu Kadaya.
What the hell? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, that one's weird. That one's weird. What the
yeah.
hell?
And then like it's funny because you look at the dark side and it gets surprised when Sora's about to hit him in the face. And it
Yeah,
actually you see it gets surprised. And then
that's weird.
when he arrives in Traverse Town, I told you this before, but I think it's pretty funny. I want to talk about it. That he enters and he's like, okay, this is my first time here. And there's like a literal like hooker or something. Because he's like,
Oh,
hi,
yeah, 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 yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah.
she's like, hi, little boy, first time to Traverse Town. And she like grabs his face. She's like, let me show you around. No thanks. Oh, don't be shy. I'm not shy. And he has like a One Piece looking face. And then this soldier Heartless comes out of nowhere and just like brutally murders the lady.
Yeah, make sure Heartless too, right?
Like she rips the heart out and like I think she like the Heartless like crushes it. Like he destroys
Yeah, it's
it.
all crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Um, it's so cool. And then when they're in Wonderland, because it ends off with them going to Wonderland, Sora he does I think out of nowhere he uses Blizzard out of nowhere because the Cheshire Cat gives him the Blizzard ability while they're fighting Trickmaster instead of after. Basically, what happens is that well actually no it's before, but basically
Yeah, in the game it's also
yeah
before because
it's
that's the whole
before.
point. You could try using it as Trickmaster. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like this was during the fight, yeah. During the fight, he gets the ability and he just uses it like not instinctively, he just does it out of nowhere. And then afterwards he tries to do it again, but he can't. And then Donald's like, just imagine that you can concentrate and you want to do what you want to do and literally just do it. And so he's like deep freeze and he goes crazy and like it freezes the whole Trickmaster and it dies.
Oh, that's kind of cool. If it's literally using Blizzard, that's cool.
Hmm. And and then there's a part where when they're like, "Oh, we need to have a silly face, like a smiley face," His face looks super dumb in the manga. They make it look all cartoony and dumb.
That's funny.
Yeah, and so that's the thing. Like I'm telling you, this manga adaptation is pretty good, I'll say.
Yeah,
Because
I was gonna say I don't own any of them, unfortunately, but I have looked here and there through them. Like whenever I've like been near them, I've looked through different um volumes for different series too, because I know there's one for like Kingdom Hearts 1, there's one for 358 over 2 days, there's one for
Mhm.
two, there's supposed to be one for I think three now.
Yeah, it's
Um
for now, yeah.
so I've looked through some of them, for instance, and it's kind of a shame that the games, I mean, I get it because they're different mediums, obviously. The games, the point is more about gameplay. Yes, it's going to have cutscenes, there's going to be a story, but a lot of it has to be gameplay and like you're playing. That's the big part of it. Meanwhile, because there's no gameplay, in a manga, they can really, I don't know, they can really take the time to slow down and show the characters' thoughts and their feelings and their interactions and stuff like that. And it kind of sucks because there's a lot. I wish they would just go ahead and just say they're canon. Because if they were to say like, "Oh yeah, these are canon. This is what it would look like if you weren't, controlling them. These are the characters that would be like more fleshed out." Because the characters feel like so fleshed out in the manga. They're like
Hmm.
really
They
cool.
they give more like characterization and stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh
like I know, for instance, like you said, it's really interesting, seeing like more of like Sora's personality in the first one, for instance. It's really cool. And
mhm.
then in the second one, for instance, I won't say much because we haven't played that game yet, but obviously Kyrie will have an appearance. And it kind of sucks that in the games, she's fine. We do get to see a bit of her and her return.
Mhm.
But in the manga, they definitely make her personality more interesting. They make her more like outspoken and sassy and sarcastic and stuff. Like I kind of just wish they would say that yeah, like the mangas are
Yeah.
um
Canon.
canon because it would really help for like the characters. Like, oh, so this is what they act like when there's more time for the story and we're not controlling them.
Yeah. The only thing I do know that thankfully I think they adapted it from like the manga, like the novels basically, was that some of the final mix scenes for two, I don't know about one or like three, I think it's just two. Some of the final mix cutscenes that they added, they are adapted from the manga or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Oh, so they appear like in the manga first and then the game or whatever.
Yeah, like they're based more off of the manga. So if you read the manga and you're like, oh, cool, there's this character interacting with this one other character, they get that from like the manga and then they put it in the game for the final mix stuff.
Oh, that's cool. That's fun. Okay,
So
okay.
at least there's one part of the series that has some manga stuff.
Gotcha,
But
gotcha.
but
But yeah,
outside of that,
I would definitely say, if you can find the manga like online or some sort of bookstore or something, I would say if you like Kingdom Hearts, check them out. They're really fun from what I've seen.
mhm. And then like I've said many times before, what's cool is we've seen this in the cartoons before, like Little Mermaid and stuff like the TV series. But I have the third volume and I checked it out for a bit. Like I just kind of scrolled through it pretty quick. There's a part where basically I've mentioned it before, King Triton joins your party in the manga and he helps you fight Ursula or something like that. What's funny is that basically he obviously does the same thing like in the game. He says, Ariel, you don't have like you shouldn't find out about the outside world or any other worlds. Instead, though, what's interesting is that yeah, here you see he has the same curiosity as Ariel, because as they're heading to the battlefield where they're gonna fight Ursula, like in the ocean or whatever, like the wide ocean, he says, "Hey Sora, what's your world like?" And so it's
That's kind of
cool because
fun.
so it shows that he has that same curiosity of, hey, like by the way, since we're like taking the time to get over there, can you like describe what your world's like? And then that's when they get interrupted by Ursula and they have to like fight her.
But yeah, once again, there we go. It's kind of fun that they give the characters more personality and stuff because they can
Hmm.
actually afford to slow down, and that's fun. That's cool.
Yeah, so it was super cool seeing that part of him where you know that it's like he really is like a daughter like father situation. Because the thing is that people always say that too when you watch the movies, that like even Sebastian says like Your Majesty, Ariel doesn't seem that like different from you or something like that. because
That's funny.
he starts
Yeah,
pointing out the difference, like the similarities, and then that's when he kind of just says like, "Yeah, I guess you're right," you know. And it's super cool that like,
that's
yeah,
fun.
that they adapted so well. And yeah, that's basically my week, you know.
All right, that's fun though. That's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Just to clarify one more time, so you said you were reading the ones for Kingdom Hearts 1, right?
Yeah.
And that's how many volumes?
Um, I think it's like four. I think
Okay.
I only have three. Yeah, but I think there's like four. Yeah.
Okay. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, I was just wondering about that, but there you go. That's pretty cool. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Jumping over to my week, I caught up with a lot of anime. You know, it's pretty cool. A lot of them are kind of starting to get close to the end, so I'm excited to talk about those in like a few weeks. You know, my overall thoughts and how they went. You know, stuff like that. That's exciting. Stuff that I wanted to talk about on camera though this week. One thing that I caught up with that I was like, yeah, I'll talk about it because it's just so weird, it's so out there. Hopefully, people know appreciate what I'm about to talk about. But I caught up and I watched every episode of the Eric Andre show,
Bro.
and that's because I finally saw. I mean, I had always kind of seen clips here and there, right? Because you know, there's those clips online of when he's interviewing the people or whatever,
Yeah.
but I never seen the full episodes really. And I finally saw that they are on. I want to say they're on Hulu. That's the weird part. You think they would be on HBO Max with other Adult Swim stuff, but no, for some reason it's on Hulu. I want to say it's like a weird thing. But the point is, I noticed they were on Hulu, and I noticed it was the full episode. So I'm like, oh, cool, I'm gonna binge this. And so I watched every single episode. And for anyone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, the Eric Andre show is this like really weird. It's supposed to be like it feels like a talk show, but it is like the opposite of a talk show. Where that comedian Eric Andre he teams up with Hannibal Buress. Hannibal's supposed to be like his like right hand man, and basically it's supposed to be like they're making fun of a talk show where they have like a certain every season it's different too. Every season has like a new hairstyle and look. The place where they're interviewing them looks different. They have like a new band every time, stuff like that. Like they shake it up every season.
Yeah.
But at its core, it's supposed to be like there's a desk, there's one little chair to like the side of the desk, and when the show starts, Eric's sitting at his desk, and Hannibal's sitting in the little chair, and they're talking about whatever, and then he invites a guest onto the show, and they come in through like a curtain or like through a door or whatever, and they sit on the couch. And then Hannibal Buress stands right next to him like a weirdo, like right behind them. And then the whole point of the show is that Eric Andre does his best to interview them and creep them out and make them uncomfortable. And then he gets that on video. And so the shows are each really, really short. Each episode is only, let me see. I want to say each episode is like, yeah, like 11 minutes. But that's because he finds like the best part of each interview. If you look at the behind the scenes stuff, he'll interview each person for anywhere from like half an hour to an hour.
Oh wow.
And he like really just like does like weird stuff. Like he starts by getting them comfortable, but he starts like upping the ante. And then when they get to like the really core where it's just like the weird stuff, that's like the reactions they record, and that's what they put into the episode.
Oh wow.
And it's just like really weird, man, the way he does it. Because it's not only the interview, but there's all sorts of weird segments of him doing like weird like pranks and skits and stuff. Like there's one where he pretends, especially in the fifth season. This is I'm gonna remember more. I'm gonna remember the fifth season more because I watched the last, obviously. But there's one where he's pretending that he's like a crossing guard, supposedly, and like a car crashes in front of him, and someone like rushes over. They're like, "Oh my god, what happened?" And he's, "It's because my sign it's backwards. The green says stop." And the red says go or something like that.
Bro,
And
that's
like,
so dumb.
yeah, it's supposed to be stupid. The point is, it's supposed to be stupid. That's why it's an Adult
Yeah.
Swim. And he's like, and I got confused. There's like a car like crashed in front of him. And then like somebody else also crashes, I want to say, as he's talking to like the person, and the person's on the ground. And he oh my god, sorry. Give me a little bit. Hold on. Oh boy. Oh, that
Oh,
something happened. Sorry about that.
it's all right.
got too excited talking about the show, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh boy. But anyway, yeah, I don't remember exactly, but something like someone else crashes and they're like lying on the street. I think they crashed their bike or something. And then Eric Andre is like, we gotta like get them some milk for their bones. He starts like pouring milk all over the person. And like this,
Bruh.
it was a lady, she's all mad. The lady that was trying to help, she's like, what are you doing? What's wrong with you? And then he's like, and he starts kicking the guy in the back. The guy's supposed to be injured. He starts kicking him. And he's like, we gotta like jumpstart his heart. And the lady gets all mad. She's like, get out of here. We don't want you here. Like you're making it worse or whatever. And then he like goes, but I'm crippled too. So you have like a glass eye. And then like it cuts to his face. It's supposed he has like a glass eye. Like one of his eyes is like missing. And
Oh
then he just kind
wow.
of like wanders away. He's like talking to the camera. He's like, chips, they're good for you. And he's like eating chips like an idiot as like the lady's like freaking out, thinking the guy's all dead on the ground. So like it fits in with Adult Swim. It's like that weird, surreal stoner comedy that like makes no sense and stuff. So basically it'll be like skits or like little segments like that of him like pranking people on the street mixed with the weird interviews. And oh my god, like it's so stupid and weird, but it's one of those things where you can't stop watching because it's just so interesting, if that makes sense. Like, oh my
Yeah.
god. And then like seeing the people he interviews, like the way they react is so funny too. Like, who does he react there? Like, I'm trying to remember like a specific one. Like he interviews them, and they're like really like who was it? Who was it? Who was it? Oh, like, he interviews um. I'm trying to find the name. I'm looking at the name of people he had as a guest. He interviewed Jack McBrayer, you know, the guy who voices he's done like a few things, but
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
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 he did the voice of Fix It Felix.
yeah.
And then like he freaks him out because he starts eating like these little he like offers him like these little like gray, like I don't even know what the hell it's supposed to be. It's just like these little gray blobs. And he's like, you know what they say, if it's gray, it's good for you. And he's like, nobody says that. He's all like grossed out. And then he interviews one of the first people he interviews is the guy who voices Sora.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, what's
Haley
his name?
Joel
Yeah, Haley Joel Osment. He interviews him, and then it's so stupid because he'll say like I don't remember exactly, but he'll say something like it says here that you retweeted a thing that says that like Hitler was actually like a good guy or whatever. Why did you do that? And then like he's like, I never did that. And he's like, mm-hmm. And then like he does like stupid stuff like that where he'll accuse them of like retweeting or saying like really dumb stuff. And the person's all confused, right? Like, well, I didn't say that. And he'll like move on to like the next segment where like he's like pissing his pants or taking a poop on his desk or the desk like bursts into flames or something. There's like really weird stuff like that, dude.
That's super weird.
It's super weird, but it's just so funny because you're so used to if you've watched if you watch the talk shows and like what do you call it like those late night shows, you're so used to them running a certain way that when you see this just totally flip things on their head and just be super crazy, it's just you can't pull away from it because it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, like one of my
Oh my god.
favorites, not only that one, but another one that I really like is one where I don't remember. Oh, man, they all kind of blur together, man. I would have to look at it again. But there's one where oh, it's this lady that I think she runs that show Dance Moms or whatever. That she does
Yeah.
like the little girls like dance or whatever. And he's like, so what's your deal? You like train like little monkeys?
Bruh, that's so
And you can
stupid.
tell that the lady didn't know what she was in for. And she had never heard of the Eric Andre show. And so he's like, so
Mm.
you're like you train little monkeys? And she's like, no, it's children, like very successful children. And he's like, uh-huh. And it's something like that too, where he like accuses her of like, I don't remember what he accuses her of, like some crime. The people or the comments are going like, fun fact, a few years later, she would actually go to prison for that crime he accused her of.
Wow.
And then I don't know, man. Then when she like looks to Hannibal, because that's the point. Like they'll look to Hannibal because like they want comfort of what's happening, right? Because everything like next to them is like super weird. They'll look to
Yeah.
Hannibal, and Hannibal's always doing something really random. Like he'll be eating a head of lettuce, or he'll be like playing with like a robot, or he'll be like scanning himself with a metal detector, or he'll be making out with some lady that's supposed to be like his wife. At first she's like beating him up, and then he's like just hardcore making out with her. It's like random stuff like that, dude.
That's crazy.
It's one of those things. It's so hard to like describe it. You need to watch it yourself, but it's just so funny. If you want to see all these like different celebrities just be like uncomfortable and weirded out and like not sure what in the hell's happening, and you want to see him messing with them, it's great. And each episode's only like 11 minutes, so you can like breeze through them, you know?
Yeah.
So I caught up on that. Like I'd always seen like the segments before, but I never watched the full episodes. I'm glad I did. I thought it was fun. So far, they've done 5 seasons, which has been like 50 episodes. Apparently, they have said there's going to be a new season this year. So I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. Then the other thing I did that I was going to talk about briefly is that I also caught up on Pokemon Aim to be a Pokemon Master. That is that series or season, however you want to call it, of 11 episodes that's supposed to be like a goodbye to Ash and Pikachu. And I want to talk about that real quick because I am caught up. I watched like 8 or 9 episodes. I forget how many are out. But I have very mixed feelings about this. I think I kind of mentioned it when I first watched like, the first like 2 or 3.
Oh, yeah, we've talked about them before, yeah.
I don't really know what their deal is. Like the way it's sold to me, it's gonna be 11 episodes of Ash and Pikachu saying goodbye because we're gonna have our new protagonist next time. It's gonna be a new area, whatever. So what you would think is that cool. They're probably going to spend time with Ash meeting up with all his old Pokemon we haven't seen in forever. Ash meeting up with all his friends one last time. Maybe, you know, meeting some legendaries, you know, trying to kind of close things off. And instead, like half the episodes, nothing interesting happens. It feels like it could be any adventure from any random season.
Yeah, that's the thing that I noticed. I felt like all those episodes were like from the original, like the Indigo League. That's what it just feels like.
Yeah, like for instance, episode 1, I think I mentioned it before. It's Ash and Pikachu, and they're happy. Oh, we're traveling around. You know, we're free to do whatever we want because we like already beat the championship, whatever. And the only part that's interesting is that they meet Latias, I guess, and they save Latias. That's cool, I guess, but it's not even the same Latias. So why do we care? I don't know. Episode 2, I would say, was one of the good ones because he re-meets Misty. And so them competing and, you know, re-meeting, that was fun. So episode 1, I would say sucks. Episode 2, I would say was fine. Episode 3, same thing. That's the one where he re-meets Brock. And Brock joins the crew again. That one part was fine. But then the part I don't get is that, as I said before, why, if Cillian was there, why does Cillian not join them? Like, Cillian's just there. He goes, no, I'm going to do my own thing. And he leaves. Like,
yeah.
That's random. That's weird. So episode 3, I would say, is kind of half and half. Then episode 4, I don't even remember what they do. I think it has to do with like helping some snow Pokemon or something.
Oh yeah, that looked boring as hell.
Yeah, totally boring. Adds nothing to the lore. Like I said, it's one of those adventures that could be any episode. Why is it part of the grand finale? I don't know. That was stupid.
Because they had to show Oshawa. That was why.
Sure. Then episode 5 was fine. It was actually pretty cool, where it's about that Ash's original Squirtle. It's part of the Squirtle squad, and they're like doing performances and they're saving people and all sorts of stuff. And at first, Team Rocket is kind of like acting like as the managers of the Squirtle squad. I don't remember how they end up as their managers, but they make it Squirtle think that Ash doesn't care about them anymore. He's not visiting him, but then they make up and whatever. That was cute. It was fun to see Squirtle again, so that was fine. I kind of wish that shown that he like evolved now or something, but whatever. Maybe Squirtle's never going to evolve. That's fine. But at least you got to see Squirtle, so that was cute. Then episode 6 was another boring one. I don't remember what happened. I think it was about. I literally don't remember what happened. It was that boring. It was just another thing where it's like, who cares? Oh, episode 6 was the one that was a callback to the episode. It's about Pikachu and Meowth getting lost together. And then everyone's looking for them. And it's like a callback to that episode where Pikachu is trying to motivate the Caterpie to evolve or whatever.
Yeah, I remember. I know what
Which
you're
is
talking
like,
about, yeah.
why not just show us Butterfree then?
Yeah.
And we could have gone the callback that way. Why is it like a totally new Caterpie? That's stupid. Then episode 7 was all right, although it was really random, where Ash and his friends are just standing near the ocean. And then out of nowhere, his Lapras just shows up. And it's like, I need your help.
That's weird. Yeah.
And it's like, okay, is it's about them helping Lapras with like a thing where like, oh, a Wilmer's stuck in like a cliff, and they're all the Pokemon are trying to like get it out. So again, it was cute. At least you saw Lapras, and Lapras is doing fine. And even Team Rocket helped. They all teamed up to like help that Wilmer. But it was just like, where did Lapras come from? It was just so random. It just showed up.
They walk up to the beach. They're standing there.
Yeah, then it
Shows
literally,
up.
and then Lapras just literally like pulls up. It was like so random.
Ash called Lapras and said, "Okay, bruh, where are we
Yeah,
gonna
and
meet
then
up?"
I guess episode 8 might have been the last one because I think eight's the last one I saw. Um, it was a good episode in terms of the story, but once again, it had nothing to do with wrapping up the series. It was about how there was this little girl and she had a Pokemon plush, like the ones you find in the game, the ones that, the Pokemon plush, the ones that you can use as decoys sometimes.
Hmm.
She literally had a Pokemon plush that she loved. And then when she moved away, it got left behind. And so it becomes a Shuppet, which that was kind of cool. The fact that actually showed it become Shuppet, because that's the lore that when a toy gets left behind or something like that, it grows like a soul or whatever,
And it will try
and
to like seek revenge or something like that.
something like that. So it was kind of cool in that sense. So that made it fun. At least that was a fun episode. But it was like, once again, what does this have to do with wrapping up the series? Why do we care? You
Yeah,
know?
I don't know. I don't know.
So
They're
they're
trying
like so they're like 8 episodes in, maybe 9 if I forgot one, and this is all they've shown. And it's like we haven't seen almost any of Ash's friends. We haven't seen him reunite with May. We haven't seen him reunite with Max. We haven't seen him reunite with Dawn. We haven't seen him reunite with Iris. If you can even call Cillian a reunite, because he literally just like wandered off. We haven't seen
Richie.
huh?
Richie.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that in a moment too. Now I was gonna say, not only have we not seen any of his companions, like especially Serena, that's supposed to be super important to him or whatever. But then what about Richie and Gary and people like that they were never his companions, but they're supposed to be important enough that we would want to see him meet them one last time? Nah.
Yeah.
So I think like they really dropped the ball. Like, I don't get why they did these last 11 episodes. Honestly, if they're gonna be this crappy, they might as well have just ended it where he wins the championship.
Yeah, that's what they could have done, bruh.
That literally should have been it, because so far it's just, it's him, Brock and Misty having adventures, which I get it. For a lot of people, that's kind of what they wanted, because Gen 1 and this is the original, whatever. But it's not even that great. So it's like you might as well have just ended it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just really disappointing, honestly.
The last episode.
I was gonna say, hopefully the last episode or two are better. Hopefully, at least has a satisfying conclusion. Though I kind of doubt it, honestly. And even if it does have a satisfying conclusion, it's gonna feel like it came out of nowhere. Honestly, watch. Yeah,
I was gonna say they're gonna make the last episode 1 hour long.
right. But yeah, at this point, I'm just ready to be done with it. It's whatever. I'm actually really excited for the new series because they had, they showed like a preview for it. They showed more of the characters and stuff, and like, I'm more excited for the new series. Honestly, I'm ready to move on to what's new. Yeah,
a lot of people. It seems like they also agree that this series has been kind of iffy, and that they were really like, yeah, I'm just excited for like the new one. I've seen a lot of people say that too. Or even the people who said that they were sad that Ash was going to leave, like they really turned their opinion around and they're like, yeah, no, just end the series, please.
Yeah, because nothing's happening.
Give us the new female protagonist and that's it.
Yeah, because if they were going to have it be like, oh my God, Ash and all his friends are traveling around together and they're like looking for like legendaries, or they're tying up, like I said, like, oh my God, we got to see Richie again finally, or we got to see like his Butterfree again, but no, it's just like, oh, we met some of his Pokemon, which I guess it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then it's like, it's like whatever. I'm done with it. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
That's it for my week, though. I was gonna say, I'm done. Oh, that's it.
Nice.
So with that being said, moving on to the news. Some of these are kind of interesting. The first one, though, I'm kind of worried about all of these actually, because we'll have to see how they turn out. But starting with the first article, as it says, the title. The Wolf Among Us 2 delayed into 2024 to avoid burnout and crunch. So for anyone who doesn't know, I played the first Wolf Among Us on the channel. It's up. You guys can go watch it. I played it with Terrific. And The Wolf Among Us is this really awesome comic book series, a graphic novel, where basically it's what if all of the fables, that's like, the fairy tales, what if they had to escape their homeland and they ended up in New York City, and it's them dealing with like their past, dealing with each other in the modern day, etc. Blah blah blah. And from them came the Telltale game, The Wolf Among Us. Oh, because the original comic, sorry, the original comic is called Fables. And then
Yeah.
from it came the game, which by Telltale, The Wolf Among Us. And the game is really awesome because it's supposed to be like a prequel to the comics or something like that, like somewhere before the event, a lot of like the comics. And it's supposed to be that you follow Bigby Wolf, aka the Big Bad Wolf, and he's basically the sheriff of the town. And you see him dealing with like a murder, and it's like this whole conspiracy and stuff. And the way it ended was, on a cliffhanger. They've said they're not going to continue from the cliffhanger, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. But regardless, what's cool is, okay, they're going to continue the story. At least that's pretty cool. Seeing more of Sheriff Bigby solving crimes, awesome.
Yeah.
And what sucks though is at first there was supposed to be a second game. Then Telltale Studios, went bankrupt and shut down. Then the game came back with like a new studio, blah blah blah. But it was supposed to come out, yeah, I think like this year at some point, maybe even last year in 2022. And now they're like, no, we're pushing it forward again. And in a way, I get it because sure, take your time. It's nice when they don't crunch the employees, and it's nice when they take their time so the game isn't buggy and it can be the
Yeah.
best it can be. But the part that worries me, that's why I was mentioning the worry part, is I really hope it doesn't get canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes stuff gets pushed back and it's fine. Like I said, okay, if you have to work on it more, give the employees more time, that's fine. But sometimes that just ends up being code for, oh, it got canceled because something happened with the licensing, something happened with the project, and it didn't go through. And that would really suck because I've been waiting for this game forever, and I really want to play it.
Yeah, it would actually be pretty sad that if they canceled it, considering that I know a lot of people love this game and the fact that it's a sequel, or at least it should, hopefully. But if they cancel it, that would be very like a shame because honestly, if they don't release it, like they could use the sequel as a way of being like, hey guys, like the second one's coming out, you should check up on the first one. And then if people actually know it's a good game based off of what other people have told them, then that can like raise sales for both the first and second game, like a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a shame that we don't really know what's going to happen. This anticipation is what sucks. Like, I want to hope for the best. I want to hope it gets released. They really do work on it. But man, it sucks because even if they do release it, the fact that it's going to be like more than a year away, it's like, oh, I was so ready for it to come out sometime this year. I've been waiting for it forever. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm just going to wish for the best. Fingers crossed. Hopefully they do make it, and hopefully it's good. And hopefully, if it comes out, I'll be able to play it on the channel. That would be really fun to just be like, hey, I played the first game a few years ago. Here's the second one. That would be really cool.
Yeah. We're terrific.
If Terrific's still alive by then. Oh god. Jeez,
Yeah.
I say it. Jeez, I was kidding. That's so dark, Dan. The second news story is also about a video game. This one, though, is a bit different. As the title says, Blumhouse is turning Dead by Daylight into a movie. So for everyone who doesn't know, Dead by Daylight is an asymmetrical, I think as you call it, multiplayer horror game where basically it's a 1 versus 4 type of game. One person plays as a killer, 4 people play as the survivors. And it's a pretty interesting game. I played before, where if you're the killer, you get to choose from a big old pantheon of original or licensed characters. For instance, when it comes to licensed characters, oh my god, they have almost everybody except Jason, honestly, because Jason's the one that there's like rights troubles. But at this point, they have Freddy Krueger, they have they have Freddy Krueger, they have Leatherface, they have, I believe they added this is the one I'm not too sure of. I was hearing they might add it. I don't remember if they added the xenomorph from Alien. That might be the one I'm not too sure about. But I know for sure though that they did add, Freddy. They added Leatherface. They added the girl from The Ring. They added what's his name? Michael Myers. They added oh my god, I'm trying to think of what that series is called. They added Pighead, I think is the name of the character from Saw. They added Pighead or
Oh,
whatever her
okay,
name
yeah.
is. They added even from other video games, for instance, they added I want to say his name is Nemesis. They added Nemesis from Resident Evil. They added Pyramid Head from
Silent
Silent
Hill.
Hill. Like they have a lot of licensed characters, and then for every licensed character, they also have like original characters too, which start with their own like moves and lore and attacks and stuff. So yeah, this game's pretty interesting. Because basically, if you're the killer, your goal is to kill as many people as possible. Go crazy. And if you're a
Yeah.
survivor, the point is that you need to try to survive by either surviving until like this like gate opens, in which case you escape, or you escape through like a hatch, or you turn on all the generators and turn on the door yourself, something like that. And yeah, it's pretty crazy because it's a game that's been going for a while, and every so often they update it and they add new characters and environments and stuff. And basically, the lore of the game is that there's this entity. I think it's literally just called an entity that it loves to see suffering. And so it has these people playing an endless game where I think like they literally can't die. I'm not too sure.
Oh,
Um,
damn.
yeah, I don't remember if they can't die or like if they do die, it's like, okay, they're dead, whatever. But then like the next batch of people come in. I don't remember exactly how it works. But basically, all of these characters they got stolen, they got kidnapped from their respective like world or respective environment, and they're stuck in this never-ending loop where like yeah, it's monster versus survivors, and it's like appease the entity, and the entity doesn't care if the survivors win, good. If the monsters, killers win, good. All it does, it likes to watch them fight and suffer.
Damn.
And so it'll be interesting if they really do make a movie about it. First of all, I mean, that's why I said it's kind of worrying because on the one hand, video game adaptations made to movies are iffy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially with something like this that's multiplayer, trying to make a movie out of it, kind of weird. But it is simple enough that I can maybe see it working. Where especially if they use a lot of the original characters, they can make it work. Where it's like, oh, okay, the survivors wake up and they're not sure what happened, and everybody has a different backstory of like where they came from, and let's say they had history, each of them with one of the killers, and so it's this big group of people trying to survive as these killers are following them.
Yeah.
And like the games, maybe they find out that to escape where they're imprisoned, same thing. They have to like fix these generators and outrun the killers and like escape or something. It sounds
Yeah.
simple. I could see that as a movie. It could work. And obviously, some people will get killed, some people won't. We'll see how that goes. They'll showcase the different abilities of the people and the killers, etc. So I don't know, it could work. It's just one of those things that depends on how well.
Who knows the stuff the best too? Like the director or writer? Like,
Exactly.
mm-hmm.
Because it sounds simple enough, but then again, there's stuff that sounds simple and people still screw it up. So we'll have to see what
Yeah.
happens.
The only masterpiece of a video game movie is Tetris, the movie that hasn't came out yet with the talking blocks, and the Mario movie from the 90s.
Oh, and don't forget Pixels, Madam Sandler.
Oh, and the Pixels
Even though
that
we
we've
like
talked
talked
about.
crap about it like so many times.
Yeah, we've talked about it multiple times on the Pac-Man World playthrough.
Oh my god, for reals. But yeah, that's all it says right now. It doesn't say when it's coming or whatever. It's just saying that hey, it's coming eventually. They're working on it. So, like I said, maybe it'll be an interesting movie. Who knows? We'll have to just wait and see, I
Yeah.
guess. Alrighty, and finally, the last news story. Once again, it could be worrying or it could be good. We don't really know yet. But we had talked about before that it was kind of unfortunate that even though people love Detective Pikachu, the guy who came out in it, Justice Smith, said that it looks like there wasn't going to be a sequel. And for the longest time, it was very quiet. We're not really sure what's going to happen. But finally, we just got the announcement that apparently, yes, there is going to be a sequel to Detective Pikachu, and they already have the director and they have some sort of writer attached to the project.
Yeah, that's pretty lit.
Yeah, when it comes to the director, unfortunately, he created he's a director of some comedy series, so doesn't sound too like, ooh, I'm excited. Like he has a big background. And when it
Yeah.
comes to the people who wrote it, oh no, that's the thing. The writer of the script sounded more better before because there was someone who wrote the Sonic the Hedgehog movie and 22 Jump Street. So at least they have like, oh, they've worked on a video game movie and they've worked on, comedy. The new person, I don't know who this is. It's someone who is known for the Kings of Summer, whatever that is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Like we have to, yeah.
so that's where it gets a bit awkward because the original directors are coming back. The people who are attached to it, I don't really know if I should like look forward to their work. So that's where it gets kind of worrying that I would hope that a second movie is good. The first one definitely laid the groundwork, but knowing that none of the people are attached, like the original director or writers, and the people that are attached are kind of that's where it gets worrying. Oof.
Yeah, based off the names, yeah, I didn't really get that excited when I found out that there was gonna be a sequel, honestly.
Yeah, like maybe if the person making the script was the original person that wrote the script for Sonic the Hedgehog and 22 Jump Street, that might have been more interesting because it's like, okay, this person knows their way around comedy. They know their way around, video game stuff. But I don't know. I don't know now. Now it's kind of oof.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people in like the comments I saw were saying like, "Oh, I thought it got canceled, so it's here after all." Like, what's the deal? And people are kind of just like not really sure what to think.
It's like mixed, basically.
Yeah. Oh, and that reminds me, one last thing before we kind of finish off with the news for the week because that's kind of it. Something that mentions near the end that made me go like, "Oh yeah, that's so right." It says the film is based on the Detective Pikachu game, which shipped for the Nintendo 3DS in Japan in 2016 and launched in the West in March 2018. The Pokemon Company announced in 2019 that a new Detective Pikachu game would launch on Nintendo Switch.
Oh yeah, then we never like found out more about that port.
Yeah, well, or not even that. Was it a port? Was it going
It
to be a
was a
new?
port. It was a port, yeah.
Well, if it's a port, where is it? It should have been easy if it's a 3DS game.
That's the thing. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah,
And if it
where
was a
is
new
it?
game, if it was a new game, I feel like we should have known something by now. It's been years. It's been what, like 4 years. So weird, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that just so
Yeah, that's
weird?
what I'm saying. That it's super weird that they should like I think they showed it once and then they never did again.
Yeah,
I remember
I think literally it was just 2019. They're like, yeah, we have it in the works, guys, and then people got excited. Never heard from it again.
hmm
I mean, then again, something like Pokemon Sleep took forever to resurface. So
Oh, that is true. And it's supposed to be coming out this summer.
So who knows? Maybe we'll hear about Detective Pikachu eventually. Maybe it'll be one of like the last things that they put on the Nintendo Switch, since a lot of people think Nintendo Switch is on the way out.
hmm
Who knows? All right, though, that's it for this week's news. Like I said, a lot of stuff that kind of exciting, kind of worrying. We'll have to see which direction all of these go. But that is it for the news.
Yeah.
Alrighty, and finally, before we wrap up, I want to talk about something a little different for this week's topic. This time is not really a anime series, and it's not really a video game or video game series. This time, what I want to talk about is a YouTube series that is adapting a video game story. So that's a little bit different. So what I want to talk about, and luckily Legend John has also seen it, so we've both seen it, we can both recommend it. It is called The Legend of Zelda Hero's Purpose by the YouTube channel Major Link.
hmm
Yeah, so I just kind of want to, leave that there in case people want to like look it up or follow the link or whatever. If they're following around along as they're listening. But yeah, basically Major Link, his channel's been on YouTube for a while. And at first, it looked like if you follow his channel, he just had a lot of like concept stuff on there. Like it was a lot of like short clips. I guess maybe he's had an idea for a story for a while. And so he had all these clips of like, Link interacting with different people. And that was fun. Like, okay, here's Link interacting with this person or that person. And, it was kind of cool. And eventually, though, let's see, I want to see when he did the first episode. Let's see, where is it? Where is it? Where is the first episode of Hero's Purpose? 2 years ago. Finally, after like a years of just doing like all these little animations and proof of concept and blah blah blah, 2 years ago he started the series called Legend of Zelda: Hero's Purpose, where basically it's pretty cool. It takes place after Ocarina of Time in the timeline where Link gets sent back to relive his childhood. Because if you guys remember in Ocarina of Time, that's where it said they got split. That there's one timeline where he gets sent back and he gets to like relive his childhood, and there's the other timeline where he gets defeated, and then there's the third timeline where because he got sent back, Zelda and everyone else they live in a world where there's not a Link anymore.
And then the world gets destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah, and that leads to like a whole thing, whatever. But this one though, it's pretty interesting because it's the timeline where Link got sent back and he got to relive his childhood. And so in the actual story, when it starts, it references all of that, and it references the fact that he experienced Majora's Mask. Like they really are going with it. So basically, we pick up years later where it's a Link that he is now the age he would have been at the end of Ocarina of Time. He would have been what, like 16, 17 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And he, experienced all of Ocarina of Time, got sent back in time, experienced Majora's Mask, was away from Hyrule for a while apparently, and now he's back and he's kind of checking up on Hyrule, seeing the state of things. And it's really cool because it's all done in 3D. And it's like really well done, like the character animations, and there's no voice acting, but they use like the dialogue the way that you would be in the game. Like you even see it sometimes they talk to Link and he has like two options of what to say, which is really fun, stuff like that. And he uses all of like, the sound effects from the games, and etc. And it's really cool because it's an older Link. He's back in Hyrule and he's definitely gone through a lot. You see like he's kind of like a really sad person. He seems very lonely, very battle scarred, definitely like a little bit of PTSD. And it's just him kind of reuniting with Hyrule. Like in the first episode, because of how the Deku tree, got burned down by Ganondorf, it shows that there's like a little sprout now. That's the one that's like growing, and it's Link interacting with like the little sprout. And then he catches up with the fairies from Majora's Mask, the ones that were hanging out with Skull Kid, and he like reunites with them, for instance, which is really nice. And then he goes to Hyrule Castle, and he reunites with Zelda and Impa. And basically, they're building up an army. They're trying to, restore Hyrule or whatever, be ready in case there's going to be another attack. And it's kind of cool because they offer him the position of knight. And, some of the episodes are Link deciding if he wants to like, stay in Hyrule and be a knight to like, help them out, or if he wants to like move on, that sort of thing. And then I think it's really cute that they show that he reunites with Malon, which was that girl with, the red hair from Ocarina of Time that also comes out in Majora's Mask, that you help the equivalent of her. You help her, save her ranch. And you Link kind of reunites with her, and it's kind of implied, they're kind of teasing that maybe he's deciding if he should like settle down and maybe start like a relationship with her or whatever.
Yeah, that's what they show in the series.
Yeah, so they kind of tease at that because they never really show that he has like a romantic interest for Zelda. It just shows that he kind of like really respects her and has like a bond with her, but it doesn't really show like, oh, he's like in love with Zelda. It's more like, nah, Zelda's his ally, whatever. Malon's the one that maybe it hints, maybe he'll settle down with her, but he's not really sure because once again, he's kind of a mess. He's kind of trying to put himself back together,
Yeah.
And it's just really cool. It's really cool the way that they show all the characters. It's cool how it's like an original story. It's cool that they even has the return of Ganondorf, I'll just say now. And it even kind of gives some more deep lore to Ganondorf. And it implies that he is aware of the events of Skyward Sword. That's where I'll leave it at. That he's aware that all of them are playing a bigger part in his story. So it's really interesting. That's really interesting where they go with the series.
Yeah.
Anything you would want to say, anything that you like or anything you want to point out?
What I like, there's a lot of original stuff that they're introducing and trying to connect stuff to the games. What I like is that the implication is that, they're going with that route of the fact that Link is, this Link should end up being, the hero shade, especially his armor. If you look on one of the thumbnails, I think it's part 3, episode 3, you see he's wearing his armor. And
Oh, yeah,
the
the
yeah,
distinctive helmet. Yeah, they tease at it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and that the implication is, yeah, they're trying to build up an army because, like Twilight Princess, and on the timeline it confirms there is a war that takes place between Ocarina and Twilight Princess, between Hyrule, or I mean the Hylians and the Gerudos. And so the implication is that, yeah, that this is building up to that moment. And obviously, if that's like the moment afterwards, then we know that, that should lead to stuff that happens in like Twilight Princess and stuff from there on.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of fun how it's just connecting all of these like different games together narratively. And like I
Hmm.
said, the fact that in the newest episode they even hint that Ganondorf is aware of how they're all playing a bigger part, and it brings in some of the Skyward Sword stuff. Like that's really cool too.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know, it's just like a really well done series. It's a shame that obviously it's basically made by one guy, Major Link. Like he does have help from some other people and stuff, but he does the majority of the work. And so that's a shame that obviously like I want to know more of the story, but like every like few months he releases an episode. That's why there's like
Hmm.
5 episodes out so far. But it's just really well done. It's one of those things where it's like, damn, this is like such high quality work, and I really would love to see this thing through. I don't know how long it's going to take, but I would really like to see this thing through and see where this Link ends up. Like, if it really is, like you said, hinting that he might one day become the Hero Shade. And, we know the Hero Shade is the ancestor of the Twilight Princess Link and stuff. I don't know. I just kind of want to see, a lot of people, their ship, their fan in or whatever, their fan, canon is that he's gonna end up with Malin, and that's why the Twilight Princess Link is a ranch, country person, and it seems like this is kind of going towards that. And so it'd be
Hmm.
really interesting if we actually do get to see a Link that maybe after this war or whatever, he does settle down and he, I don't know, somehow I don't know. It's kind of weird because settle down sounds like a good thing, but then the hero shade sounds kind of like a bad thing. So like, how do the two come together?
Hmm.
Because
Unless he settled down, but then they're kind of like, yeah, no, F that. You have to come fight with us. And he's just forced to fight with them.
I don't know.
Like
Yeah. So
military style, yeah.
yes, I just don't know. So I really want to see like what they show for this Link and how he ends up. Where does he end up in life? Because it seems like they're really gonna, like I said, hint that he might become the hero shade, but it's also kind of hinting he might settle down at some point. So like, how does that work? And I don't know, just the characterization for all the characters is really cool too. I like that Zelda, she's definitely means business. She doesn't like that her kin is being attacked and stuff, and she doesn't just want to like hide and be in the background. And she wants to fight and she wants to protect her kingdom.
Yeah.
So like that's been really interesting too. For instance, yeah.
Yeah, I like this series a lot. Yeah, like we've said that it's made by one dude, so it kind of sucks that like, it takes quite a while for it to like build up each episode. They kind of like it takes like there's times where it takes a few months or it takes like a year or something.
Yeah, between episodes. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's unknown how long it's going to take exactly.
Yeah, and so
Because I think the way I had been going between 1, 2, 3, and 4, I think it was like 3 months separate. But then between four
hmm
and five, it was like almost a year. It was like 11 months.
hmm
So
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. I'll say that, yeah, I definitely recommend it.
yeah, I would say if you love Legend of Zelda, you love the lore, um, I would say this is almost like a love letter to fans. So I would say check
Hmm.
it out. I think you will like it. And once again, it's by Major Link. So if you follow the URL, which will probably be in the description, his channel, his name is Major Link, and he has 5 different episodes up that you can check out the episodes. You can check out all the other animations I said that he has that kind of shows his proof of concept for stuff, etc. So, awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty, with that being said, that is going to be it for the end of this podcast. That is it for this week. Hopefully, you guys had a good time listening. Hopefully, some of the stuff that we brought up, you guys are interested in checking out. And yeah, that's basically it. Next week, we will try to be back with another episode. I said it kind of near the beginning. I'm excited that we're coming close to the end of an anime season of this anime season, which that's when I kind of want to like start going over different series as they end and my overall thoughts. So that should be interesting. And I don't know. I think hopefully there's some good stuff coming up that we'll be able to talk about. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, but until next time, we are out. We'll try to be back next week if we can. And we hope you guys have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye bye.